everyone. My name is Phoebe Akishola. I am so glad to be hosting today's Aziza Growth series. And today we're going to be talking about the power of mentorship. And today we brought as usual, we always try to give you guys as if they ought. So with me is Femi Adeboye. Speaking of Adeboye, are you related to the Adeboye, or is just your own Adeboye is different? Okay,
No, mine is different.
Oh, let us speak. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about the power of mentorship. And usually in Aziza, we believe that women are mighty and precious. And so we understand the power of mentorship. And that's why I brought somebody who has that experience to be able to give us a sneak peek into what that journey looks like, to be able to ask him questions and just get a sense of what the power of mentorship is. And so before I continue to, give you all that juice, let me ask Femi to introduce myself. Hi Femi, please can you introduce yourself?
All right, good day, everyone. My name is Femi Adeboye, also known as the Limitless Femi. Right, okay, I'm first of all a musician, and sideways I run an NGO that is targeted at helping young persons navigate life seamlessly without stress. And or better still, let me say, we're helping them navigate life in a way they won't have a lot of regrets by the time they come to a certain age, basically. And I think I'll just leave it there for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, guys, you can already tell that there's a lot coming in on this particular episode. But yeah, I'm so happy to meet with you, Femi. We're so happy to have you, and we hope that this session is as insightful for the audience, as well as you sharing from your own wealth of experience. So yeah, please tell us a bit about your journey, because I am itching to hear about all of that, right?
Okay.
What actually inspired you to start Fame? So guys, Femi was trying to form humble for you guys, but Femi actually has an NGO, and the name of the NGO is Fame. It means forever amazingly manifesting everywhere. Like guys, I got it right? Don't worry. I wanted to do my practice. I must spot this thing very well. Yeah. And really, he also has a book that he wrote, and the name of the book is A Letter to My Younger Self. And so we're going to be asking Femi, tell us a bit about your journey as a leader and an author. What inspired you? What inspired you? Because now it's there to find fame, or to actually start fame. Yeah.
All right. Well, first thing first is I never actually saw myself as a leader while growing up. I've always known when I was younger, that there were a lot of things I could do. There were a lot of things that were possible for me to handle, but I never saw myself in that space. Or let me say, I intentionally did not want to take that responsibility, because growing for me was kind of difficult in a way, not very, very. But I never grew up with my parents. I had to grow up somewhere else. So it was more like I was picking my knowledge from here, from there. Like I had somebody sitting me down to show me this is how, or this is when to do some things. But basically, while I was growing up to a certain age, I started seeing a reason to help these younger people live life better than I had it. In the sense that if there was anything I was doing at a very tender age that when I look back now I was proud of, was I had more let me say, a church when I was younger, at the age of 7, 8, 9 thereabouts. And as at that age, I was commanding the audience of about 40 other kids in my parents' garage, right? So looking back at those days, I'll be like, if I had someone who had channeled that energy for me well, maybe I would be a better person where I am today. So those are things I look at today, and looking at these younger folks, I ask you, they need someone as well who can help them manage whatever energy they have now, right? And them channel it towards the right source. I wrote my first book at a very tender age, 11 or 12 thereabout, but I showed it at home and people were laughing at me. But looking back today, I was like, imagine if those that I showed it to saw a reason to pick that book up and do something with it. So that inspired me to go further at that very tender age. So those are things I look at. Yeah, for Fame, basically, Fame never started as a mentorship platform. It started for us as a music team. So the idea was, I was praying, and I made a covenant with God, basically, that I would raise an altar of worship for you wherever the sole of my feet tread upon, right? And in return, what I had God said to me was, it's going to make me forever amazingly manifest everywhere. So 2018 was the year I started, October to be precise. October 2018, 2019, I was into the music thing in the little way I could. 2020 came and COVID was everywhere. And while I was at home, God said He wanted me to be a voice to the younger folks. So I started an online platform, online interview that I called the chat room. So basically, the chat room was where I bring people to talk about their experiences, their life, and how things are going for them. And to God's glory, I was able to reach out to few persons I never thought would even grace the platform, the likes of Tosimbi, Babatunde, Laolu Benjo, Nosa. I just sent a DM and they all responded and were willing to show up, and which they showed up for, and it was beautiful. So it was that same year that I started a mentorship thing for younger folks. And, it's been amazing from there.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. So you wrote a letter to my younger self. What was your vision when you wrote that? What were you trying to? I mean, I think for those listening, I guess you can be able to pick one or two things. The fact that I was going to say loud window, and I remember that. Oh no, I was talking to Femi. I'm a fan. So yeah, for Femi, who wanted to, in some sense, as experienced in some sense, the lags that not having a mentor can do, right? And just trying to be able to mirror that to others. So, but I want to hear from you. What do you think was the vision with a letter to my younger self? And what lessons do you wish you had known as a teenager? Yeah.
Firstly, I think I would give shout out to my mentees. They were the one who actually propelled me to write that book. I was not really willing to go on that journey, but they felt like I've been giving them a lot of content, and they were like, why not let's put this together and let's draw something. It's just time I draw something. I was like, okay. So they were on my neck for almost about 3 weeks, 4 weeks before I started. So I want to give that shout out to them. They deserve it too, right?
Mentees, thank you for allowing Femi share himself.
I want to say thank you to Adibola Aisha. I want to thank you all to Markinde, Adeboye Israel, Adeboye Access, about 5 of them there about patience. I see. All right, so for letter to my younger self, I strongly believe there were blunders we committed while we were growing up, as adults. I became 31 this year, basically. And each time I look at the new year, I'm seeing things that I wish I had done better when I was younger. So I was speaking to them about finances when the whole idea for letter to my younger self came up. So I was speaking to them about how to start saving. So whatever I asked them to do, I do it alongside with them. But I let them understand that there are things I would like you to do now and I'm trying to do that I might not be able to meet up with you guys. Because the time or the season for me to have done that might have been some years back. So for me, we're speaking about finances, and I told them and they said, we should put together. So if there was anything I wish I had learned earlier, number one, I would say learning how to save. I would say having a mentor. I would say reading more books, right? Aside my normal school books then, right? I would, which other one will I say? I would say starting early. So I have a few books out there that I think anyone that is interested in learning on that should. There's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. There's also a book, The 5 a.m. Club. So those two books are one of the things that I read that actually inspired me. But I would say basically those mentees were the one that actually pushed me to write that book. And I was only communicating the things I wish I'd learned earlier in that same book. And those things include the things I just mentioned: learning how to save, getting the mentor, starting early, and a few others. I wrote about 10 points in the book too.
Yeah. And what platforms do you have your book so that we can read it? We can speak about it.
I have it on seller.com.
Oh, okay. Okay, so guys, so when we get to the end, we would give you a lot of the details and justice for you to go and get the book as well. A letter to my younger self. Yeah. And I think when I was speaking to you outside of this, we're talking about how this podcast is for women.
Yes.
It's more like for women by women, really.
Women supporting women, right?
Women supporting women. So it's not in the mud. It's right where it's meant to be.
Exactly.
And girls, really, because of the society we live in, there's a lot of pressure, and I'm very grateful for the kind of family that I grew up in. I was able to, in some sense, express myself as a growing child because my father was such a believer of whether you're a girl or a boy, like you can be anything that you decide to be. You can meet any height, really, And so, but the truth is that even with all that support, I know that I still struggled with underestimating my ability. Now, imagine now being in a space where you are constantly jeered at, where you're constantly told that you cannot be better than you are, where you're constantly told all of that, and how, there's not that place where you begin to underestimate yourself, right?
Yourself.
And a lot of girls, a lot of women actually underestimate their talents, right? And I'm talking from experience, from how my own father was such a believer of like just get it, you can't get it, right? And the fact that I also still struggled with underestimating my own
Mm,
talents, right? So what would you say, would help girls, women identify their unique strengths, right?
mm.
And fearlessly embrace them, right? How would you say, would help women, yeah, do that?
I think one of the problem we have in our generation is the fact that a lot of voices are speaking. So we basically, these young folks do not know the voices to listen to because there are voices everywhere. So the first thing I would say is this. I tell the female chaps around me every time, I let them understand that, see, there is nothing you cannot achieve that a man can achieve. So if a man can do this, you can also do it. That means if a man can own 20 houses, you can work and get 20 houses. Because the way we've been designed, this society has designed us, number one is the fact that, number one, the society make the female gender look like they must depend to have. Right. Number two is they must submit totally to a man. Yes, I understand that there is a perfect submission, but this is not carelessly submission. We are not talking about you carelessly submitting. We are talking about submitting to the one. Okay, let me leave it like this. There is a lead and there is a leader. The leader is meant to lead to destiny. The lead is meant to cover. So most people are submitting to lead. So they cannot live where they are to where they are supposed to be. So I tell the female folks around me each time that, number one, you must be able to identify who you are, because understanding yourself personally is key, is major. So when you know who you are, if I remove the fact that you're a woman, I remove the fact that this is who your name is, what will be remaining of you? So once you can identify who you are, you definitely know where you are going to. That means if you know where you are going to, we can now find things from there. So I go back to what I was saying, which is the fact that a lot of young girls today are listening to everybody. So everybody wants to go to what is trending. Everybody wants to be on what is the wave of the time, right? Which is not meant to be. So it comes to first understanding who you are. Number two, I will let every young female out there understand that there is nothing like you cannot do it. You cannot do it, it's just a word. It's just a sentence, something someone is speaking. But there is more to you and you can achieve whatever you determine you want to achieve. One of my mentees, she's just 21 this year. She got her first land at the age of 19 without doing anything that is not meant to be done. She run a business and I've been helping mentor her over the time, telling her how to save. And last year she reached out that she has so amount to work, and she do go get your land. So there is nothing saying that you cannot achieve something at a certain age. Then number three, I would say, is there is this fear to commit to people that we have in our generation. And when I say commit to people, is committing to someone who can actually help you from where you are to where you are going, right? So because maybe you've been hurt before, these are personal things, these things that I experienced personally. I had that fear to commit, right? So at some point I just decided to stay on my own, which I paid for dearly. So if there's anything I would advise a younger person, is, see, you can't do life alone. Nobody is going to be self-made in life. So you need to learn to commit to people. And who are you committing to? People who have a better vision or have an idea of where you want to go to in life. So if number one is, I would say, know yourself. Number two is submit. Number three is don't be scared to commit to anyone. Give it all you have, and you are good to go, basically.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are jotting things down, because there's also gems that's coming out from this young man. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, what are some of the biggest limiting beliefs that you've seen teenage girls face? I think you've actually even mentioned some of it already. The fact that a lot of women don't know who they are, and I think that's such an important place to start. Like, who
identity.
are you? Yes, absolutely. Like, outside of what you are, like your career, or outside of what you're doing, like, who are you, right? And usually the root of that sometimes comes from your faith. You're able to get like an idea of who you are. And I think I was just thinking about how, like, there is a creator, if that makes sense. And you did not just drop here. Somebody definitely somebody brought you in. Even though, like, naturally it looks like your parents were the ones that decided to bring you in. Right. But definitely the creation process was outside of them. They did what they did, but it wasn't the creation thing, because a lot of people do what they are doing and they don't actually have children. So you see that there's a purpose, to that. And just being able to get that from that source of who you are, that way you're able to understand better who you are. Thank you so much for sharing. So, and there's something you mentioned while you were speaking, and it was submission, right? And that's like being able to submit.
Yeah.
And although like submission is such a is a word that is cringy because it's like submit what am I
Right.
submitting to, please?
Right.
There's just a lot of like cringe around like submission, and it has been bastardized for the lack of a better word. And really, what would you say is the reason why mentorship is so important for young women, right? Who may not even see themselves as leaders yet, right? Like, why do you think submission in the sense of mentorship is important?
Okay. Let me start by saying this. I was speaking with someone, I think about a week ago, and he said something that actually stayed with me. He said, why should I be striving to say I'm independent? We are all going to be dependent in life. For us to come to this earth, we have to be dependent on a man and a woman meeting, right? Which through that process, God now say, yeah, you go. We all came together, right? So, and when we arrive on earth, we never lived life without the influence of people around us. Some persons were responsible for carrying us, for making sure we could talk, and that process went on. At some age, some persons were responsible for washing our uniforms, having taken our beds for us and the like. So it's continued. And the person now said to me, and I said, even now that I'm grown, he's married as well. He said, I'm still dependent on my wife doing certain things that I can still not do. Right. So I need us to, number one, understand that, especially the female gender, is the strive is not for you to say I'm independent. You can be independent and lack purpose. Right. So it is to say I am dependent, number one, on God. Number two, on someone who has the vision of where I'm going to. So if you say you want to do life alone, your journey is going to be like the Israelites who had a journey of 40 days and ended up spending 40 years. So until we understand that if we have people who can help us see better and move faster, it will be easier for our own journey to move faster and for us to arrive earlier at whatever we are going. So it is not the fight to say, I don't need this, I don't need that. No. We all need somebody to sustain our life. So when it comes to mentorship, I need us to understand, like the example I gave the other time, that there are leaders and they are lead. Who we are looking for in our life are leaders. And what are the job of leaders? They see you in the places that you yourself cannot even see yourself yet. So I have someone around me now that would always still tell me that, Femi, you've not done anything. I know what you can still do. This person is always pushing me. So even when sometimes I feel like I'm tired, maybe I should mention his name. He's a popular MC in Lagos, MC Relax. One of the best MC we have now in Nigeria. And, he will say to them, Femi, I know what you can still do. There's still more, right? So there's somewhere he's seeing me that even me, I'm not seeing myself yet. So there is a vision ahead. So, and I can't achieve that by my own understanding or by my. So we must understand that there is a place for people to play. There is a role for people to play. We are the one that must now be intentional about picking those people who we allow to have a say in our lives. Like I said, they are leaders and they are lead. So there are persons that will come into your life and push you towards destiny. And there are some that will just cover whatever it is you have already. I don't know if I was able to do justice to the question.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I wanted to allow you to speak properly, but yes, you did justice to that. Because, and I think one thing I picked is just finding the right person that sees you even far beyond what you see yourself. Like that's even like the first part, right? Okay. And I think that there's something you also mentioned that actually takes me to my next question, right? And it's that you also have a mentor that also like pushes you forward and all of that, right? And you also had times when it's like the person's telling you are not there yet. It's like you still have a lot more to do.
Right.
And I feel like there's a sense of inadequacy that adult mentors feel like, because adulting can be really adulting. Adulting can really adult you.
That's the word.
Adults can really adult you. I think you begin to feel inadequate to be able to mentor the younger ones. Like I'm still trying to I'm still essentially trying to even manage my own self, right? So, but what would you say really is that thing that can help adults who would feel like they lack the expertise to mentor other people? What advice would you give somebody who is hesitating? Because the truth is, what I can hear from this is, see guys, everyone who is listening to this podcast who is an adult, and trust me, Femi was at the age of 7 navigating speaking to other 7-year-olds as well, right? It's almost like at every point in time, you can be doing something, right?
Right.
So essentially, what would you say to those adults who think they lack the expertise to be able to, give back or in some sense help the youth?
I think the first thing I would say is it boils back to what we think of ourselves. It took me a while to step into this. While I was in the university, I was the president of almost 4 associations. Right. I finished from a private school though. So I was president of 4 associations, and people kept telling me rather that, Femi, you can do this, and I'll be still wondering, pardon me, do you want to kill me? Right?
Yeah.
But it took me a while to fully, like I said when we were speaking the other time, I said I never wanted to step into leadership role. I just want to be the man behind the scene, like the underdog, pushing things from behind. But one way or the other, there's a way God just orchestrates your feet into, and you just get into that spot. But for me, I think I'll say it this way: we should learn to be vulnerable as adults. I'm at the phase where God is teaching me how important my past life has been. Both the things I did right, both the things I did wrong. So, and I've come to now understand that except we accept who we are or what has happened to us, we might not see ourselves in the position where we are meant to be. So, if I don't see the mistakes of yesterday as a path to my tomorrow, I won't see myself fit to talk to these younger folks. Okay, I'm at the point, like I said, I wrote a book. I just dropped a new book in my pen, and in that book, I was talking about me being vulnerable, completely vulnerable, right? So I don't know, am I permitted to speak freely?
Oh yes, by all means, speak freely. But you know what they say, freedom before speech is guaranteed, but freedom after speech. But don't worry, this is not the platform for that. So please go ahead.
I have nothing to be scared of.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I battled addiction to pornography for almost 21 years. So now, at some point, when I want to speak to these younger folks, that thoughts come back that what do you want to say? That you're having pornography addiction. So if I never accepted the fact that, yes, I had pornography addiction, and that was who I am, it's no longer who I am. There's a difference between my past and my present. So what I experienced then was a pathway to me speaking to a younger folks now that will come and meet me and say, I'm having pornography addiction. I can now speak to you from that life because I had lived it. And over the years, I think I've met if not close to 9 of these younger folks that will say they had the same issue, both female and male. So what if I never went through that life? I won't be able to speak to them or teach them what to do to get out of that shell. So a lot of adults feel they cannot mentor because probably something that happened in their past life is still weighing them down. So I think the first thing we need to do as adults is to accept what has happened. See it as a pathway to where we are going and helping people who would meet on the way, basically. So for any adult out there, I know growing up was not all that rosy, right? It wasn't all that interesting. You had your fall, you had your rise, but every part of it was for you to be able to step into what God has called you to do, basically.
Thank you so much for sharing. And finally, what is that one heartfelt advice you will leave for every woman who is listening now and wondering how she can use her own story to uplift someone else? What would you say to that woman?
If I've never met a woman in my life, I've met my mother. Amazing, caring, hardworking, supportive to the core, right? And if there's anything I've learned from her, I've learned that the world is not meant to define who you are. Only 2 persons can do that, which is God and yourself. So I've seen my mother fall big time, and I've seen her rise back to her feet, and I've seen her succeeding at what she stood for later, right? So every woman out there, let me say it this way, I'm not married yet, I'll say it this way, that hardly will any man survive without the help of a woman. Because for us to even come to the head safe, is with the help.
You need the women, I know, right?
So don't play down yourself because of whatever is happening or whatever people are saying. You are one of the most important thing that God has made on this earth. So there's more to who you are, there's more to what you can do, and there would always be people depending on you. So rise into that office and take charge of who you are, and let the world celebrate you for who you are, basically.
Thank you so much, Femi. Thank you so much. This was such an insightful episode. Thank you so much. And here you go, guys. This is Femi. Femi has given us his own story of the power of mentorship. I hope you've been able to pick one or two things. Thank you so, so much, Femi. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Bye.